Welcome back to Dollars and Cents with Dennis and Lindsey. Today we're going to talk about the one time that Dennis won Dancing with the Stars in Sturbridge.
We are?
Just kidding. We're going to talk about emergency funds and why they are so important. So Dennis, why don't you kick it off by telling us what is an emergency fund?
An emergency fund is a sum of money that you set aside, for emergencies. Something that is unexpected, not your day-to-day normal spending.
So something like a big expense in my house or something going on my car like a transmission?
The transmission goes, right. Other things, even bigger than that, things like you get laid off or you lose your job or maybe you get disabled. Actually, statistically, 40% of the foreclosures in the United States are caused because someone became disabled.
40%?
40%.
Wow, that's a really high number. And considering how much inflation is going up, that's probably even destined to be higher right now in today's times.
Absolutely.
So we're understanding that the emergency fund is in place for a lot of different scenarios, the unexpected that's heading your way. So how much should I have saved in my emergency fund?
The general rule most people talk about is 3 to 6 months expenses. Now remember, we're not saying 3 to 6 months of your gross pay, it's 3 to 6 months of your expenses. So that means not including taxes, not including savings and 401k and investments. It's your pure expenses for the month. So your car payment, your mortgage payment, your food, all of those types of items.
My non-discretionary, right? So if I know what my budget is and I know my non-discretionary, that should be the stuff included.
Exactly right.
Would you recommend, since inflation is so high and we're just experiencing so much uncertainty in these times with the great resignation and now the great layoff phase that I think we'll probably coin it with time, that we have more than 3 to 6 months?
For most people, 3 to 6 months is enough. I mean, generally speaking, that should take care of things. Hopefully, if you say you lost your job, you get unemployment, so you'll have some money to cover those kind of things. Also, maybe if you get disabled, you'll have disability insurance at work. So that's another thing to consider. We'll talk about at some other point is having the right amount of insurance to protect yourself.
Absolutely. Okay, so I have my 3 to 6 months worth of emergency funds saved, and I come to you, Mr. Financial Planner, and I give it. Where are we investing that?
Theoretically, most people say you should put your emergency money in some place where it's easily accessible. A bank account, a money market account, something along that line. So a lot of clients have said to me, hey, I don't like the low return I get on a bank account or a money market account. Can I do something more with it? And my answer is, it really depends on what your personal risk tolerance is. In other words, if you start putting money into your emergency fund and the market happens to be down when you need the money, are you okay with that? So it's all part of your overall plan based on what your needs are, how you feel about money, how you feel about risk.
I think that my grandfather would tell me that the best place that he'd want to put it is under his mattress, but I don't think that today's day and age that's something we should be doing.
I think we're still looking for my father's tin cans out behind the house there with all his emergency money in it. So
one place not to put your money for an emergency. That's great. So you're also saying that my emergency fund should be separate than my other investments and my other spending money?
It doesn't have to be. Let's say if you have an individual account or a joint account, as long as you have some way mentally or on paper to segment that so you know what those funds are and what they're earmarked for.
Got it. So I think it's important that if you're working with a financial planner or in the process of starting to work with a financial planner, that if you are looking to include that money in your investments and mix it together, that it's communicated clearly that this money needs to be accessible for an emergency fund, and this is what you're designating it for.
Absolutely.
Can I just use my credit card or take out a home equity loan if something bad happened?
Yes, you can. Surprisingly, that's how most people deal with this issue. But think about the high interest rates on credit cards, the hassle of going and getting an equity loan on your home if all of a sudden you're disabled or you don't have a job. Now you go to the bank and say, I want money. they're not really good about doing that. So being prepared for this upfront, having the emergency money is absolutely a much better way to do it. And if you're having trouble right now putting money away, besides doing your budget and making sure that you're knowing what your expenses are, you could even do a side hustle. In other words, you could even do some summer jobs or some other side jobs and use that side money to develop your emergency fund. And then when you're done, you can either quit the job or use the money for something else, like a vacation.
That's a great idea. And it definitely seems tempting to be able to use some of these vehicles to take out emergency money via a credit card or another loan, but the daunting part is having to pay that back and the consequences of that. Okay, what if I was a small business owner? Do I need an emergency fund for my personal?
For your business? Absolutely. Too many people forget about having an emergency fund for their business because they can lose accounts, things can go wrong, or the same thing can happen. They can have a big unexpected expense, they could get disabled. And it's not even necessarily maybe the long disability, but let's suppose you're out of work from your business for 3 months. That can have a devastating effect on your business and your pocketbook at home. So having an emergency fund for yourself personally and for your business is crucial.
Great. In our last episode, we talked a lot about budgeting. And one of the first priorities we said was having this emergency fund and paying yourself for it. And all financial plans can get ruined really fast if the unexpected happens and that foundation isn't in place.
Absolutely. So budget and emergency fund.
Budget for your emergency fund.
And budget for your emergency fund. That's a good one.
What happens, last question, if you use your emergency fund, what should I do? Replenish it as soon as
If you use your
possible.
emergency funds, you should replenish them as soon as you can.
It's important to just start, even if it's small. We reiterate that message on a constant basis. Just starting today and having the power of time on your side, even if small, is important.
Absolutely. I always like to say, sometimes when people get too focused on the big picture, they try to go all or nothing, and that never works. Usually when you go all or nothing, you get nothing. So start small, be consistent, and work on your budget.
And as always, feel free to reach out to us here at McCurdy Investments to help you with your emergency fund questions and any other budgeting needs you may have. Remember, having a personal emergency fund is a proactive approach to being ready for those uncertain times. Until next time.